How's it going, YouTube? NCG here, bringing you a pure 6 Samurai deck profile. So this one's going to be quite a straightforward deck profile. I'm going to take it straight from the top. So let's get started with triple Fumar. Now, Fumar is obviously a bit more effective in the True King version, but with this one, because of Isidil Two Tales of the Noble Knights, Fumar is actually more relevant in this one as well, because you can send in a quick card, special summon it to the field, and then either destroy it or use it as a link-up material. So this is why we play Fumar at 3. We play triple Kageki because he will get out 90% of your monster engine from your hand to the field, which is very, very useful for either your XYZ plays, link plays, especially for Isidil, and kind of moving forward that way. Triple Kazan, because Gateway is busted as hell. You can search it off of Isidil if you wish for a future kind of special summon, but as is, he's still very, very good and is very rarely dead. Double Hatsume, great card in my opinion, really, really like it. I think it's one of the most underrated ones of the set, and it's very, very good to kind of banish 2, bring 1 back, and then extend your link plays, especially when we've got cards that revive from the banish zone or you know, kind of utilise the banish zone themselves. We then play 2 Kizaru. Now, I don't ever see the chance of ever wanting to play 3 Kizaru, both in this version and the True King version, because ideally you don't want to see him in your hand. You want to be bringing him out from deck, which you do a little bit less consistently in this build than you do in the other one. However, there are some times where you might want to search him because you've got a Kageki on board, special summon those, go into Isidil, Kizaru has searched you out a monster for your next turn play. Zanji. Zanji's just like a nice little option there as a light attribute to be searched off of Kizaru, and then it kind of helps you know deal with troublesome monsters on the board and can kind of protect itself, and it works really, really nice with Anishi, and in my opinion Anishi is the better option on that one. Anishi is very, very cool. You banish 2 6 Sam as long as you control another 6 Sam, and then you get to banish a face-up monster. Bounce a face-up monster on the field back to its hand, which is really, really cool and useful. And again, because he's a light attribute, he's another nice search off of Kizaru. We've then got the 1 Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai in the pure build again. You can search this off of Isidil, and then you've got plays for your next turn. But also, he's very, very helpful should you just cold draw him anyway. So we've got Grey Shogun Shien as well. Still very, very good like Grandmaster. You can search him off for your future plays. But again, really, really powerful if you cold draw him. I mean, straight away, if you've got the ability to make Hatsume's effect live, he's then live in your hand. Your Kageki then makes him live in hand if you've got another 6 sound to special summon, and it kind of works nicely that way. 1 Genba, you can play Genba at more than 1 if you wish. If you want to, you can take out like your Zanji. But Genbas can be quite useful in this deck, especially when you're banishing most of your 6 Sams to activate some of your effects. He can be very, very useful to kind of revive them and push your synchro plays. You can play Kagemusha as well. That does give you another option. The main reason I've got Genba is, you know, he's another attribute that can be searched for Kizaru, whereas Kagemusha can't. But Kagemusha then obviously provides you a bit more in the asceticism plays, should you need to, depending on kind of how your board lays out. For hand traps, you've got double Ogre and double Veiler. Obviously, I've explained this before, but I personally feel that at this moment in time, Veiler is a little bit more helpful in the kind of the current meta at this moment in time than Ash Blossom is. So it's very, very kind of important to, I would say, effect Veiler over Ashes at this moment in time. If you know what you're going to be coming up against in the meta, if you think it's going to be heavy meta foes Electromite, then effect Veiler over Ash every time. Now onto the spells, we've got triple 6 Sam United. This is obviously your draw card of the deck. Triple Asceticism. It's not once per turn, which is really, really cool. It can be, you can go into a Fumar and then the Fumar gets destroyed during the end phase, and then that gives you another plus as well. But 9 times out of 10, you'll activate this to kind of extend your link plays or just kind of help boost up your board with 6 Sam monsters to kind of move into your extra deck. Triple Smoke Signal, search out your Genba, your Hatsume, your Fumar, and your Kageki. So more times in this build, you'll probably want to go for your Kageki a little bit more, depending on what you have in your hand. Triple Shien's Dojo, again, this can get your Fumar to board, which is the quite like consistent play of doing it, because it only needs 1 token. But should you need to put, or should you get more tokens on the board for it, of course you can then use it and kind of get bigger monsters onto the board. Gateway of the 6, busted as hell. Like, it would be nice to have this back at 2, if not 3, because 6 sounds aren't doing a huge amount at the moment, but this card is hella busted. Double Desires, you don't have to play Desires if you want. You can play like Upstarts, or you can play other kind of alternatives in the deck. You can play more equipped cards for Azadil and kind of play it that way. But I just think Desires could kind of turn a bad hand into a better hand if you're lucky. The one Rhoda, they're all warriors, you know, why not? The one Regeki for the board wipes. Monster Reborn, which is, you know, in my opinion, a staple in all decks right now. Soul Charge, because you can do crazy plays with a Soul Charge in 6 Samurais. And then finally, the Black Pendant. Now, the Black Pendant is for Azadil, the Noble Knight link, because you can send this from your deck to the graveyard, burn your opponent for 500, and then special summon out your Fumar. And it's kind of pretty much a free summon in that sense. And then lastly, the Solemn Judgment. Again, a slight kind of staple, in my opinion, in most decks, depending if you're aiming to go first or second. But it will always be live. There's no time when this card won't be live in the deck, because it only requires half your life points. So it's a lot more consistent than Solemn Warning. Now onto the extra deck. I'll start off with our XYZs, and then we'll move through that. So we start off with the one MX Saber Invoker. Again, quite straightforward on this. You make this with your 2 level 3s, and that kind of pushes your Mrs. Radiant play should you choose to play that. One Tornado Dragon, staple rank 4, and Baguska, again another staple rank 4 in my opinion. We've then got the one Secret 6 Sam Rihan. You'll probably use Rihan more consistently in this version because he's a nice little go-to, and you should be able to get 3 6 Sam on board quite easily, especially with Asceticism, and kind of move it that way forward for you. And he's still got a really cool effect, like banish 6 Sam monster, and then destroy one card, target one card on the field and banish it. And then if a 6 Sam monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle card effect, you banish this card instead. So he's got a very useful grave effect that can kind of help win you games in that sense. Now onto the Synchros. I like playing the one Herald of Art Light because you can make this with Fumar and any of your Kigeki or your Hatsume. And it's very powerful in the sense that it can kind of slow your opponent down if you've got a Link monster on board. And if you have this with either of the Xiens, not only do you have the ability to negate a monster effect, but you have the ability to switch off spells and traps. So your opponent's got to do a lot more to kind of clear your board and deal with your cards than they usually would first off. Speaking of which, I like to play the one Shien and the one High Speed Roy Shambara. You can definitely play 2 Shien if you want. The reason I'm only playing 1 is because I've got the more defensive option and I've got a more aggressive option in the extra deck. It comes down to personal preference. Chambara has actually won me a couple of games before, so which is why I like playing it. But Shien, of course, on his own is still very powerful, especially in this deck. We then play the one Coral Dragon and the one Cypher Lord Omega. Coral Dragon is quite self-explanatory. The ditch to destroy is quite helpful, not to mention when he leaves the field to draw as well. And then you can help boost up should you need to. Omega is very good as well. So I had the odd opportunities where I'm like, I can make a link, I can make a rank 8 here or a level 8 here. And Omega is the most powerful level 8 in the game right now. The fact that he gets to banish, rip one from your opponent's hand and then return to a main monster zone is pretty busted. A couple of alternatives down here is you can of course play Trish Dragon of the Ice Barrier and Gargogar Samurai. Trish is more useful in the True King version because then you can overlay him. Not to say that he's bad in this version at all. He can still be very useful, but I've gone with a heavier link based options. So we've got Underclock Taker, which is just a nice generic link monster. The reduce of an attack is very useful and helpful, and can kind of actually help your 6 Sams get over bigger beta boards, which sometimes they can falter at, which is why it's very useful to kind of get Underclock in play. Sometimes he might be a better option for you than like a Mrs. Radiant or your Azadil, or even a Casset Magician. So speaking of those 3, we do play the one Mrs. Radiant to boost your Earth monsters, the one Azadil, 2 Tales of the Noble Knight, again your Fumar plays, and of course your Search plays for future kind of board dominance. The one a Casset Magician, I really like Casset Magician, and she can be very helpful to kind of non-targeting bounce, to kind of get rid of your opponent's decode should you want to target some of their monsters. And then we finish off with, speaking of which, one Decode Talker and one Borrelode Dragon. Borrelode has kind of taken the space of Firewall Dragon as the kind of Link 4 monster. He is incredibly powerful, so if you do end up going into him, which in my opinion you'll get more out of going into a Borrelode than you will in a Skuldred in this deck, because it's very rare that you'll get 4 monsters on the board to be able to make Skuldred and get full usage out of him. I'm not saying that it's a bad option by any means, but it does give you a couple of options more with Borrow Load than it does with Skull Deep. And of course, Decode is probably the best link free in the game at this moment in time that offers most to the board. Anyway, that is it for the deck profile. Hope this helps. Hope it's giving you an idea or a structure for you to try yourself and give it a go. And you know, 6 Sams are really, really fun. In my personal opinion, the True King version is the stronger of the two, but it doesn't mean that you can't play the 6 Sam version pure, because they are still very, very cool to play and very, very fun to play. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till Tuesday next week, guys. See ya.